Jesus didn't tell the disciples up the Garden of Eden, Peter cuts off the centurion's ear, and, obviously he heals the ear and stuff, but he also tells the disciples, go and buy swords, sell your cloak and buy a sword. The pacifistic lies that have been fed to the church are why I believe the church is largely neutered. I believe the church is basically totally now in the realm of, how should I say this, ineffective. If somebody's going to come and hurt you and you're my brother, then I'm going to do everything I can to stop them. I had a friend. I want to tell this story because it illustrates perfectly what you had. I broke fellowship. He was a doctor. He was in Bozeman. Many of you have heard the story. It's true. He was talking, and he was a pacifist, and I obviously am not, wasn't, never would be, and by the grace of God will never be. But he basically said if his wife were being raped downtown Bozeman, he would pray for God to stop it. And I said, would you try and physically take the guy away from your wife who's hurting her? And he said, no, I'd ask God to do it. And I said, well, I won't tell you his last name. I said, Doc, let me tell you something. If that woman's being raped at a knife point or any in danger, and in those days Montana had some interesting laws, still do in that realm, I said, I would use deadly force to stop him. And see, that's the thing I want people to understand. Deadly force is to stop evil. People try and use the K word. Thou shalt not murder is what the commandment says. Kill is not the issue. It's stopping the evil. And then I said, Doc, because I'm a Christian, I probably wouldn't turn the gun on you, but I should. And I said it a different way, and I'm trying to be even kinder and gentler when I shared that story originally. But here's the thing. Christians have allowed themselves to be emasculated. We're emasculated in and I would say this, in our faith walk. We're emasculated in our war against evil walk. And we're emasculated in our ability to talk the talk and walk the walk. I'm not trying to play games with words. People are too worried about what happens to them more than they're worried what happens to the other guy. When that young man was killed and assassinated, I thought, God, I wish I could have been there. I wish I could have done something to stop it. And by the way, that holds true, too, for black people that are being beat up by cops. Look, I've taken lethal force classes. I know this. I know the distance the FBI says a guy running at you with a knife. But I also know when someone's distraught, you don't shoot them 7 times in the back, And by the way, when I see cops with muscles this big, and I mean, I know cops with muscles biceps that are huge. And when I see those guys, and the first thought is to take them out, the first shot, which at first thought should be, not first shot, it should be, their first thought should be, how can I take him down and not have to use lethal force so he can live another day, and maybe the guy just basically had his whole world blow up. I am not a meow man, but neither am I foolish to sanction evil on either side. Doug, I want to say this so people get it. Please, God, make people understand this. The whole war between cops and the population and the cops, is to bring in the end of police, because no one trusts them, and bring in the UN. The United Nations Security Council was composed primarily of Russia and China. Hello? Does this not sound like the Mad Hatter had a little too much tin that day? Tin, well, only Alice in Wonderland aficionados, and I don't use Alice in Wonderland in the storybook. I just say we are basically surrounded by Wonderland, and there's so many prima donnas in the Senate and in the Congress. And then we have actual traitors. We have people that are traitors. They're on the payroll of foreign governments. And there's 1,000 ways to launder money. And so, you can't go to the bank account and say, well, this rhino or Republican versus this demon rat, or basically evilcrats. By the way, when I use the word evilcrat, an evilcrat is either a Republican or a demon rat, and they don't care about their country anymore. They just care about themselves. Well, an infiltration ultimately results in the devastation, or if everybody would understand this, I want you just to think of this. just look up on your computer a rifle scope. And a rifle scope has crosshairs. Some of them have, mil dots, a bunch of dots. Each dot represents a given amount of distance. You have to correct for windage and elevation. But just the basic crosshairs. Maybe that, I'm not doing a very good crosshair there. Maybe that, okay, there, crosshair. And imagine that on your forehead. Imagine that on your wife's forehead, or wives on your husband's forehead. Imagine that on your beautiful little child. Imagine that, and that's exactly what we're facing, Doug. Here's the thing. I was told, now I want everybody to understand something. The love of money is the root of all evil. Have you noticed how all the Satanists are the richest people in the world, all the technocrats, all the Luciferians? The control of money is the control of all evil, but also money controls lives. But when the power of God comes into his people's lives, God puts a new economy in motion. It's the economy of manna from heaven. See, we're going to see real miracles, and the devil's going to foment lying signs and wonders, and it's going to be whose miracles you're going to believe. Redemption will always result in Jesus Christ being uplifted. It will always result in God being glorified, those miracles. But the miracles where the Antichrist or the false prophet are looking at them and looking at themselves, you'll be able to instantly tell. But the deception is going to be so great at some point in these next couple of years where Jesus said if he didn't shorten the days, even the elect would be deceived. No matter how much I think I know, no matter how much I hope I know, at the end of the day, I don't know everything, and I don't want to know everything. I just want to know this. In intelligence gathering, the who is more important than just the information. The who, what would be called human, H-U-M-I-N-T. Human intelligence is what the KGB uses, it's what the Israeli Mossad uses, it's what the CSIS uses, and the people with the most spies on the ground have the most eyes on the ground. Years ago, the United States decided primarily to forego human for signal intelligence. Everything from, radio intercepts, device intercepts, everything that was technologically accessible to them, they did. But you know what? There's funny things that happen. People still met up in parks to pass coded written messages, still do to this day. People who are savvy know exactly what's going on. Only the people that basically are foolish and don't care to know, like I heard a guy chuckle, I won't tell you who it is, but I heard a guy chuckle last night when he just said, well, I know, they're tracking me. I said, if you knew what they're tracking you with and what their plans were, he's a believer. I said, I think you'd worry about it. And by the way, I carry my phone, Doug, less and less now.